Hey, thanks everybody for following us on for Smart TV today. We really appreciate you coming in and visiting with us today. So we have a special guest with us, a good friend of mine, Victor Hubbard from Performance Driven Marketing. These guys are experts at the SEO game, at helping you to have success using your website, SEO, search engine marketing, and so forth. So we want to have them come in and offer you guys some tips and advice on how you can be better at doing SEO for your own business as well. So give us a little bit of rundown, Victor, first on what are the things that you guys offer, how do you guys operate?
So over at Performance Driven Marketing, we're a full ad agency, helping everybody from website design, graphic design, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, just to name a few things. So yeah.
We do everything. Nice.
Do a little bit of
Good. Well, if you guys have questions as well, as we go along today and talk about SEO, put them up in the chat so we can see those. We're broadcasting on Periscope as well as Facebook and even on YouTube as well. So put up your questions about website design, SEO, those kinds of things, online advertising, and we'll do the best we can to answer those questions for you. So let's start off, I guess just really quick, what really is SEO? How does it, if somebody's just getting into business, what is SEO? What can we how can we explain it to them so they understand it better?
Yeah, so what I like to really think of is SEO, or search engine optimization, is really helping you to be able to manipulate search engines so that you can show up higher as your business. So if somebody's looking for a plumber, they're going to go to Google, Yahoo, Bing, or different places and search for plumber in Ogden or plumber wherever close by their house. Most people want to specialize or get a little bit closer, so you'll notice usually that it's something local to where they're at is what they're searching for. And so we want to just kind of give you guys some tips or tricks on things that you can do to be able to show up a little bit higher and easier. And so yeah.
So really, with SEO, search engine optimization, right?
Correct.
So it's all about helping you be found better when people do searches.
Yes, very much.
Cool, I like it. So what are things that people should be doing? Like if you have a business owner that say they're relatively new to the online marketing space, what should they do? Maybe they don't know a ton about how it all works, what all the tips and tricks. What are some actionable things that someone can go do today to help improve their own SEO for their website?
The first place we usually start with most customers is going to be with their own website, making sure that you have a website and that it's mobile friendly. That's a big one recently with a lot of the different changes Google's been making, as we're noticing that the search for desktop and the search for mobile are not the same anymore. They're changing more and more. And so it's important that we address how well your website is going to work to attract customers, for one, and then once you've got that customer, how well is it going to convert that customer into an actual patient or customer, whatever it may be for you.
I know I've seen a lot about that with the change in mobile, so it's not just even mobile responsive anymore.
It's more than that, yeah. So Google is now penalizing companies that are not mobile friendly. So if your site does not scale down or give somebody a mobile friendly thing, and if you go to Google and do a search for mobile friendly search, it'll actually give you, there's a bunch of tools that will tell you if your site is compliant or not. The one that I usually like to go to, I think it's called Google Developers, and so that's a great trick to go and at least see where you stack up.
Give me some ideas.
Yeah,
that's cool.
The next thing that I would tell somebody is, if you've got your website, you're there, you've done that, do you have a local listing on Google Business? It's really important that you have that Google Business account and that you have that information for you. We notice a lot of companies will actually have had somebody already set that up for them, whether it be the yellow page advertising that they were doing or something else. They've got somebody that set that up for them, or maybe Google just found their information out there and it's created one, but it's never been claimed. So if you can get that claimed and start doing some of the things in there, it'll help you. One trick that I'll tell you is make sure that you do all the photos. So it'll give you like a little task list of things to do. It's important that you make sure that you get all of your photos. This is also one of the ways they verify that you're a legitimate business. So they want pictures of the front of your office, the exterior of your office, people working in your office. And so that's one of the ways they can tell if it's real or not.
And they want that uploaded into your listing, basically.
Yeah.
To show off more about what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you go to google.com/business, that's where you can actually claim your business if you haven't already done it. and that's google.com/business.
Good. Get some notifications here. Good. So if you guys have questions about website design, SEO work, let us know. We'd love to help you out with those. I told you I get notifications in here. It's my team hard at work. We're doing social media for other people. Man, how many of these do they have? Okay, there we go. So the Google listing, get your listing on there for your business with the address and things. Now that does help with maps too, right?
Yeah, so that's how you correct your maps. Also, if you've got an issue with your maps where somebody's trying to get to your business and they're going to the wrong location, this is where you can actually change that or fix that and make sure you address that. While you're in there, the one thing that we always tell people is look at what categories you have. A little SEO trick for you here is, it is basically the priority listing. So the first one is the most important one. So if you're a dentist, you want to put dentist. If you're a pediatric dentist, we want to put pediatric dentist. If you want to show up for dental implants, and that's more important to you than just general dentistry, we want to put dental implants.
So that should be your first one, basically.
So whatever your first category, it's really important that you set those in order as to how important they are for you and your business. I think you can add up to about 10. As it used to only be 5, so you can add more listings on there if it's been a long time since you've been in there. Go and add more things that you can do, or more categories specific to your business.
Awesome. So here's a big question, and I hear this a lot from my side doing the social media things for people, should I be on Google Plus? What are some things that you guys tell them about the whole Google Plus? What is it? Why should we use it?
Sure. Google Plus and Google Business now are kind of one. We have so many different people saying, hey, what is it or where is it? Highly recommend Google Plus. Google Plus is Google's social network. Never really quite took off the way they wanted it to, but it's still a very important place. And I always tell people, if Google has a platform that you can go and post information and content, I'm guessing they're going to weigh that heavier than somebody else's.
Yeah.
But they do weigh all social media is important to be doing, because Google looks at that and looks at the interactions and different things. So it's important that you're supplying information or content to all of those different directories that will benefit you from an SEO standpoint.
No, and I agree, and I think that's one thing that people don't realize too is like your Facebook business page is indexed by Google, your Twitter account is indexed by Google, even Pinterest can pull up in your searches sometimes. So that's another good reason to use social media for your business, is because it can influence your ability to be seen on a search. Not to mention just your website showing up on search, but even having your Twitter account and your Facebook page in it, so you can kind of get more than one listing on one page of search.
Sure.
If you've got good content and keywords and things like that that you're using on those. So, and do not do business on on Facebook as a personal page. That is not indexed by Google. You won't ever be found. It's not going to help you at all. So, not to mention, it's actually against Facebook's policies. They can delete your page, so don't do that. So what are the things that what are the common things that you see business owners do that totally shoot their SEO in the foot? Like they don't even realize that they're making it harder for people to find them in search.
One thing is I see a lot of people that come in and say, oh, I want a clean design, and I want to have just really minimalistic, and I don't want any content on my home page or different things. Google is actually looking for 2,000 words of content on their home page right now. And so if you don't have content and information, Google's never going to be able to help you. I always refer to Google as a giant index. If you're trying to find something, you better have content or information around that, because if you expect to be found for something, you need to have that information on your website, because Google's not going to know what you're thinking. I always joke with my wife that I can't read her mind. Google can't read your website either. So make sure that you realize that Google can't read what you want it to. It only can read words. It's at the end of the day, it's a robot. It's a giant system that is taking that content or information that's on your site and spitting out results.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. So how you design it is very important on your site. Basically, there's a lot of people are doing things that they think are cool, but not realizing that Google's going to dock them for that.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example of this is Flash websites. We can do some really cool things with Flash. But Google and some of the other search engines don't like Flash. In fact, you will be penalized for having Flash on your website if you want your site to be all cool and have nifty little things as it comes in. That can really hurt you. Speed of your website. One that we've been playing a lot with recently is speed, trying to speed up our websites, get them to be able to deliver content faster and quicker. So a lot of times, simplifying what your site is doing as far as sliders or images and minimizing some of those things, or making sure that you have hosting that's going to be able to cache some of that stuff and then deliver it a little bit quicker. So we try to make sure that a website is under 4 seconds in load time. And so that's an important one to realize. Is you want to be loading pretty fast.
Yeah, no, that's great. Even the order of how your page loads makes a big difference.
Correct.
Of whether you have your graphics up here, whether you have text. And I've heard some different ideas on that, like sometimes say, because text loads pretty fast, have some of your text appear quickly to capture people, let people start reading, capturing attention, while some of the heavier things are loading in the background. But there's a lot of ways you can do it to speed up your site. So it's just, I think that's good. And sometimes I'll go into like our Google Analytics and see what was our speed load times, just to get some ideas of, oh, these pages load pretty slow. No wonder we're getting people abandoning the page.
Yeah, Google Webmaster Tools, if you're not using that, is a great tool for some of that. It'll give you a lot of insight on what you're doing from an SEO standpoint or not doing from an SEO standpoint. So that's another one that if you don't have set up Google Webmaster Tools, Google has lots of tools to help make our lives easier or more difficult, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. They do have, especially for helping you understand your website, I think they have some of the best tools out there.
Correct.
Make a big difference for you. And most of them are pretty free.
Yeah, there's not many tools that they have that are paid, so it's usually free stuff. There are things that they charge for, like their pay-per-clicks. That's how they make their money, honestly. But yeah.
So that's a good thing. Let's talk about that for a second. Pay-per-click. What is that? I mean, how do people get involved with that? Where does that, when those ads are shown, because really that's buying an ad.
Yeah. Basically,
where do those ads show up?
So with Google pay-per-click or Google AdWords, it can be referred to as either one. Realistically, those can be showing up in lots of different places now. The most common ones are right above your map listings, or you have 4 listings now. It used to be 3 listings. They've increased that to 4 listings. Nice. Some other things coming down the pipeline for them is you're going to notice where we have our local listings, there's going to start to be one that is a paid listing. So you can pay to be on the Google Maps. So that's starting to come down. We've seen it in a couple states where you can actually, if you go to the map section or area, you'll notice paid ads now. And that's done via the location extension. Mm-hmm. So Google, if you're paying or doing your pay-per-clicks and you have the local extension, it'll help you to show up higher in the maps area as well. So it's kind of cool. Some other fun stuff with that is you've got Google retargeting ads, or what I call stalker ads. If you want to chase people around and follow them wherever they're at, you put a little code on your site when they hit a certain page. It then triggers that you want to track or stalk that person and help them to have reasons to buy from your products.
It totally sounds creepy, but it works pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm really impressed with some of the results that people have with that.
Other ones that are kind of fun are display ads. I don't know, not a lot of people use those as much. Google YouTube video ads. So there's lots of ways to advertise with Google pay-per-click or Google AdWords. One thing that I will tell people is a trick that I've found is within your settings you have broad match, phrase match, and exact match. If you can make sure that it's either a phrase or a broad match or an exact match, you're going to be a lot better off. When I go into a pay-per-click account that somebody's had set up for a while, if I go and look at what terms are actually being found, if somebody doesn't know what they're doing and set it up and it has broad matches, 9 times out of 10 that they'll have hundreds of keywords that they've wasted money on because it's not really what they wanted, but Google wants you to spend more money, so they're having you show up in different places. So that will save you a lot of money. And make sure the first time I set up a pay-per-click campaign, I actually didn't set my demographics, so I didn't set where I wanted it to be showing up. And so I was showing up nationwide instead of showing up just in Sandy, Utah. And so my first campaign, I was spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars in minutes, because I didn't set a budget or anything else. So I learned really quickly that can hurt you.
That's an expensive lesson.
Yeah, that was expensive, but yeah. So now I make sure that I know what the heck's going on, and you can set budgets. The cool thing about pay-per-click is you can set where you want it to show up. You can set how much you want to spend, and you can set up how much you're willing to spend per bid. Because really, that's what's going to determine ranking on the paid ads, is how much you're willing to spend. There's quality score and some other things that go into that, but for today's lesson, we'll just keep it simple.
That's neat. How much do you think an average business owner should consider spending if they're going to do PPC?
It really depends on how far they want to reach. I always tell people $300 is $10 a day. Most customers are spending anywhere from $2 to $5 a click, and that's pretty generalized. There's people that can spend a lot less than that, but that's a good kind of ballpark. I figure it takes 10 clicks to get a call or an email sent off to you. So
interesting.
So
if you're doing 10 a day, that's maybe 2 clicks. Maybe a click a day or a click every other day, as far as like lead generation.
Correct.
Interesting.
I've found that my typical heating and air guy is going to spend $50 to generate a solid lead.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So if you guys have questions as well, let us know. Have questions about website design, SEO, PPC, those kinds of things. We're here to answer your questions for you today on those. So what about the whole push with like video? Because I know Facebook has done a ton of video. Most social networks do a lot with video now. They encourage more video. Does Google really encourage you if you have videos like on your website, those kinds of things? Does that actually help your website out?
So how I explain it from an SEO or search engine perspective is,
where do I start? Okay, I will answer that in just a second. Go ahead.
One of the things that I've found is with video is a lot of times people think that, hey, back in the day you could actually be found a lot easier, and there's spots where Google video would show up, and there was a huge run on it, and it still can be and is really important, but the one thing that I see more importantly than that is video will keep somebody on your website longer, and the length of time that somebody's on your website is a factor for Google to rank or say, hey, this site is more relevant than another. So having video allows people to stay on your site longer, which ultimately is going to make it to where you're going to be able to rank higher, because Google looks at your quality of your site and how long people stay there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Good point. Okay, so we had a follower that asked, where do I start? How does somebody get started doing their SEO or working on the website, those kinds of things? What would be some good tips?
So I would say first thing to start is really, you've got to have a website. Once you've had your website, is your on-page optimization is probably more important than your off-page optimization at this point. So going into the back end of your website, we have what we call meta tags or title tags or descriptions. It's important that you use those keywords within that, and then also in your description, and then the content that's on your website. All 3 of those things should be matching, or at least the keywords that you're wanting to have in there. Now there's formulas to say how often and what you need to have there, but for this purpose, to get started, just make sure you have the keywords and information that you want in there. That's the most important thing you can do, is your on-page optimization. After you've got your on-page optimization, let's now start talking about backlinks and where and citations and directories and different things that you can do. But on-page, and then start with your off-page.
So one thing to consider too when you're getting started, because there are some things you need to do kind of behind the scenes on each of the pages of your website. If you don't understand how to build a site yourself, you don't know HTML or anything, then what you want to do is you're probably going to look at one of the CMS sites that are out there. You're welcome. So there's a lot of sites like Squarespace and Wix and other things.
Stay away.
yeah, I was gonna say, be careful with some of those. If it's really cheap, really inexpensive, basically, then sometimes they don't give you a lot of opportunities to do some of that on-page SEO stuff. So, which is gonna hurt you. It's just gonna make it harder for Google to look through your site. You know, WordPress really isn't that hard to learn to do. Is there any of your videos or tutorial, anything from where I can learn? Do you have any videos or tutorials on your site right now?
I do not.
Not yet. Okay. We don't. I'm trying to think if we had any. We don't. We have a few on how to optimize some videos from Smart TV that we've done, but maybe we should have you back and talk about a few tutorial things.
Sure.
Do something with that. So. You can do some Google searches to find some other things that are out there to help you with those. Just be careful when you're starting out with your site. Always look for if you're going to use one of those CMS sites to help build your site out, then make sure that it has the mobile responsive features, because that's going to change how your site looks. And so your site needs to be flexible to adjust for the screen size. So the mobile responsiveness will help with that. They already have the code in place that'll help your text and your images move around on the screen, depending upon what size device that they're using. So that is something that's very important to look at. I can't tell you how many times we talk to a business owner, even just on their social media, and I'll pull up their website on my desktop and I'll grab the corner of my browser to shrink it, to watch what happens to their site, and it doesn't move. I just get a smaller window so I don't have to scroll around a lot. And it's totally not a good thing at all. You don't want to have that at all. If you grab that corner, you want your site to adjust, and that's very, very important. So make sure you've got that in place, and do take the time. And I think a lot of people don't put those meta tags in. You know, they don't take the time to look at that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that sometimes is just pre-populated. With WordPress, there's lots of tools that make your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
There's SEO Yoast is one that we use a lot. Another great site if you want to follow or learn more SEO tips and tricks is Moz is a great one to follow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so that's a great place to get some information.
And look at even buying a theme. So in WordPress, you don't have to build a site from scratch. You can literally go buy a theme for $100 or less, and then just customize that theme a little bit. You know, once you get your theme in place, it's kind of like building PowerPoint. It's just I need to switch out my text here, switch out my images here.
Yeah,
to do it.
Some of the things you'll find, and one of the things we've started to go a little bit away from that only because they're so limited and they have a lot of extra stuff in them.
Yeah, true.
And so our speed, one of the things I was telling you, I really focus on speed, is we're going away from that a little bit more because some of them have a lot of extra stuff that you don't need. It makes it really easy for somebody that hasn't ever built a website, but it is hurting you.
It will. No, and I agree. That makes a big difference. So that's why hiring people like PDM to do your site, I mean, you know, $5,000, $10,000 for a site is not uncommon for, you know, as far as paying for a full website. But the nice thing is when you hire somebody like PDM to help you with your site, they are going to focus on making sure all those things are done right from the start. So you know, it's not fun to build a site only to realize that it sucks, and you have to start completely over to make it better. So if you work with a professional, then they'll already know what needs to be happening. Okay, we've got to have mobile optimized. We've got to watch our speed. So let's check those page load times and make sure, you know, do we have too many images or graphics and things. And you know, hopefully, I don't think we've completely learned this lesson, but hopefully people really catch on to the one of the problems that happens in the old websites. If you remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Netscape used to be around, they had lots of bells and whistles and flashy stuff on their sites. And it's like, okay, all that takes time to load, all that takes time to render and to do. We don't need cool flashy sites. You don't need a whole lot of stuff like that anymore. It's dumb to have a lot of that.
Yeah, and we're finding that the trend is actually lessening what you have on there. The last site I built, I didn't even have a slider on it. It was just one static image, and we're seeing more and more of that kind of stuff happening. If you look around, you'll notice even some of the bigger players are starting to
Yeah.
lessen what they have as far as moving, interacting stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. It helps a lot with the load times too,
Yeah.
especially on mobile. So thanks everybody for joining us today. If you have any other questions, always feel free to let us know. If you want to, if you always have questions about online marketing, use the SMRT TV hashtag, and we'll answer you. So follow us on there. We do have on YouTube all of our past episodes. So go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get updated with all of the past episodes we have. Thanks again for watching, and thanks Victor for coming in today to talk with us. We're going to have you come back and even talk more about some of those basics of website design.
Okay,
So
sounds
that'd be a
good.
really good one to do. So we'll talk to you guys later.